Always expect the unexpected, and when you can, be the unexpected. I have to say, that's what many of you have done with this speech one. I'm super impressed and entertained how well they are coming in and turning out. I love watching first speeches, and I have to say, this class is really surprising me on the quality of the content and delivery. So this week we are going into audience analysis, and I just want to talk a little bit about what you are doing this week. I want you to start off by clicking on the first link, which is our activity. It's taking a test from Harvard University that measures biases and stereotypes and kind of how we think, either on a conscious or subconscious level. And the reason I'm doing this is, as we move into audience analysis, as speakers and as listeners, if we have biases or we're stereotyping people, even on a subconscious level that we're not aware of, I feel like it's really helpful for us to be aware of that so we can make sure that we're even more open to hearing other people's ideas. I know we talked before about listening and how a lot of times if we have biases or stereotypes, we'll just automatically kind of shut down. And I'm telling you, I know that on a conscious level, this may not even be intentional, but it's kind of a human thing. So really informing ourselves about people that are different than us, and then also this test will help us know maybe we have biases that we aren't even aware of. I remember when I first was introduced to this test, I was in, I believe, an English class, and then the test popped up later in a persuasion class that I took. But I thought I would have biases in areas that actually I measured neutral. And then the one that I ended up being biased against, I'll just share with you and I'll be transparent with you. For some reason, I had a bias against older people. And that was odd to me because it took me out of nowhere. It came out of nowhere. And I don't mean it was a major bias, but this test, it really will pick up even on the slightest favor for or favor against, and it's really neat. So anyway, that's our activity. I want you to do that first and then move into the other content on audience analysis. I am providing you with a guide. It's pretty content heavy, but I want you at least to read pages 15 through 25 in that guide on how to give speech evaluations, because this week we're moving into you will be giving speech evaluations to your student peers. So read those pages and just now understand those ideas are pretty advanced, because I don't know if I've told you, but I actually compete in speech evaluations. They actually have contests for speech evaluators, and it's what I have really loved doing, and it's one of the things I'm best at. So don't worry about like too many of the details. Just to give you sort of a big frame, read 15 to 25, and then I'm going to verbally tell you right now, just real basic, how I want you to evaluate your student peers. First of all, you'll be picking 5 of your class videos. Make sure that you pick the section that you're in, and those are the ones you're going to write to. I'm trying to make sure everybody gets equal kind of feedback. So you're going to want to pick videos that either don't have any evaluations or have the least first, okay? And that will kind of balance out, making sure everybody gets a good number of evaluations. Now, getting ahead to speech 2, when you evaluate speech 2, you will be picking different student peers than you did for speech 1. And then speech 3, you will pick different student peers than you did from speech 1 and 2. And that way you all get a chance to evaluate different people and a good chunk of our class. So I'm going to just explain to you the simplest, most basic way that I was taught to start evaluating, and it's just simply the sandwich method. And the sandwich method is you start, make sure that whatever you say in that first section, it's positive. Let's say they met the speech objectives, they met time, they had great voice inflections or hand gestures, or sometimes it could be like a surprising introduction was awesome. But you want to put all the positive stuff in there. Now, first, and then in the middle is kind of the meat. And I don't want you to think of this stuff as telling the person they did something wrong, okay? You are not telling them they did something wrong, because ultimately speech evaluation is very subjective to the listener and to the evaluator who's giving it. So the things that you want to suggest that they might consider, and pay attention to the language I'm using right now, because I encourage you to use real gentle, open language as you're writing these evaluations, or if you're ever giving a verbal evaluation. You're going to want to say things like, if you were going to do this speech again, you might consider possibly trying this. Or in your next speech, you might want to think about trying this. And just try to use gentle language, because the bottom line is none of us want to be told that we did something wrong, and we really didn't, okay? Nobody did anything wrong in your speech 1. We are all exactly where we're supposed to be in this developmental process of becoming better speakers. So I want you to know that it doesn't matter how great or perfect your speech was. As an instructor, as a person, as an evaluator, I never have a speech where I don't have feedback on something I would like you to consider to improve, okay? I have had a couple speeches that were so good, I've had to really use my imagination to come up with a suggestion, but I always have had a suggestion to improve a speech, okay? So just know it's not a personal anything. You're all perfect for where you're at. This is just, again, about progress, baby steps and progress, and it really does help us to get the feedback from another set of eyes or multiple sets of eyes. Okay, so you're going to tuck the suggestions in the middle. That could be suggestions like, I noticed that you started by saying your name and had some filler words. Maybe next time you can work with the Speaking Center and come up with a quote for an introduction, or a startling statement for an introduction, or asking the audience a question for an introduction. And so you just put a couple of your suggestions in the middle. So you got bread, then we got meat, right? Those are your gentle suggestions. And then on top of that is more bread. And that's along the lines of wrapping it up positively. And I always, maybe highlight a couple things in the wrap up that stood out to me that I haven't mentioned yet. And I always say, I'm looking forward to seeing your next speech. And that is because that is sincere. I am always looking forward to seeing your next speech. There's just about nothing that I love more than just watching speeches. So know that I really mean that. I know I'm talking fast. I don't want this to be too long, and I see I'm already at 10 minutes. So I hope that helps. The sandwich method that I'm telling you about, and then reading that guide, pages 15 to 25, to just give you some bigger ideas to consider as we move into other evaluations past this, okay? Keep in mind, all of these evaluations, you're picking 5 from your class. You're going to give evaluations to the people who maybe don't have any or just have 1 or 2. And then you are going to make sure you rotate every speech. You're giving different people evaluations, and then you're going to use the sandwich method as just kind of like a starting point to start evaluating. Let me know if you have any questions about this evaluation process. And I am really looking forward actually to finishing having speech 1 come in from all of you. I love what I've seen already. I'm super proud of you, and I hope you all have a great week.